Statistics are patterns, and most people's lives are run on these patterns day after day. That makes you ask, am I a statistic? What I just showed you is probably what you do every day. You wake up, you get your clothes on, you open your laptop, or you get in the car and drive to your job. This is the loop that you've run over and over again. Your routine. Now, does this make you another statistic? A statistic is a predictable behavior that can be measured. And I think a lot of people fall into that category. So really, how does someone become a statistic? Well, I think that it's mostly started out by someone having a routine. And the routine is just like I talked about before. Waking up to going to your job. Same thing every day, or at least most days. And that's the main thing. It's just unconscious. It's repetitive, and it never really changes in any real way. And that's actually very similar to habits, because habits are just doing the same thing in the same way, in the way that you want it to get the best result possible. Now, habits and routines are very useful because the system, your job, your family, they're all rewarded by you following these routines and structures, and even your health is impacted by your habits, your eating and going to the gym habits. So, really, these things are useful, but then a lot of the time, these things can get predictable. They can make you predictable if you don't change anything for years on end, or even months on end. And once you're predictable, now you're in a new position. You are a predictable person. And what did I say a statistic is? A statistic is a predictable behavior that can be measured. And I think routine and habits that you do over and over again, the exact same way, are very predictable, and they probably can be measured, and you can probably guess what's going to happen next. You're going to get up, and then you're going to put your clothes on. So, that kind of makes you a statistic, doesn't it? And this is even worse when you think about how you can be used once you're predictable to certain people and companies. Predictable people are easy to categorize. They're easy to know what they're going to do next. Obviously, because they're predictable. So, they're also easy to be manipulated because you know what they're going to do, so you look one step ahead and you go to that step, and then predictable people fall behind, just like that. And it's not just manipulation, it's also you get ignored because you don't stand out in the crowd, you don't stand out in your job. And especially when you're in your job, you can be replaceable because you're just another part of the machine. You don't achieve anything more than anyone else in the same field. You're just in the middle, just a line, just a statistic, because you're predictable. So you're replaced. You're demoted, or someone else is promoted in front of you because you didn't do anything new. You didn't expand who you are. So really, all of this is just unconscious repetition. I mean, yes, it can be conscious, for sure, but it is a lot of very unconscious repetition, and you think that you're doing it because you're expanding your life, you're expanding your opportunities just by doing these things over and over, because you're getting better at your habits and your health is going up. But then you get to a point and you become replaceable and ignored and manipulated, and you realize that you're predictable. You're just a statistic. But really, I think there is a way to get out of it, because you have to look at what someone is lacking when they are a statistic and when their life is repetitive. What are they lacking? They're lacking the questioning of their life. They're lacking the belief that they can change what they're doing and still have a successful result. They aren't learning very well because you aren't gaining knowledge and you aren't changing your behavior, because you would change your behavior most likely if you thought there's a better way to do this thing. And if there's not a better way, then you should probably figure it out. The main thing they are lacking when they are a statistic is intentionality. They aren't controlling their own lives. They don't have the freedom to control their lives or their mind because they are in a routine. They are continuing on with the same thing over and over. There is control over them to follow this routine. And if they don't, then they fail. They lose their health. They lose their job. And now it's a question of, are they going to continue the routine or not? It's not, are they going to choose, what are they going to choose today? Which is intentionality. Being intentional about your life is really the important thing that you have to do if you want to actually achieve a sentient and unique and not repetitive life. You have to be intentional about choosing the different path, the new path, because it's always harder to do that new path. It's hard to leave the routine. It's hard to change your ways very often because it's a lot of thought and it's a lot of intentionality. That's the big word here, intentionality. Overall, someone becomes a statistic when they stop noticing their own patterns, when they stop realizing they are repeating the same thing over and over. That's a statistic. That's someone who has become a statistic. And the only way to really know if you are a statistic is to ask yourself the same thing. Do you not notice your own patterns? Well, that's all I had to talk about today. Bye.